contribution from Sam Tompkins then? Because as strong as he was defensively, and he did keep you in the game, as you've just alluded to, do you feel like he was doing enough in attack?
No.
Getting on the end of enough? And
no.
Was that his fault, or was that just the way the game was going?
No, I think you've got to put some blame at the key players for Wigan for that. He didn't get involved quite enough in play. He didn't. He helped. He got involved a lot in exit sets, distributing the ball and stuff. But no, he didn't get involved enough for me in the final third. But we didn't have enough possession there potentially. But still, I don't think Williams injected himself on it enough times. I don't think O'Loughlin was contributed enough. I think Bateman fell out of the game a little bit. He had a very, very good first half. Scored the try, put a big hit on. I think it was Scotty Taylor that forced an early turnover of possession and stuff like that. But I don't think the second half he had the same level of impact at all. And then our hookers just were not very good in the game either. They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. That's the problem. They didn't actually cause any problems.
No. His distribution still got you going though, didn't it? It's for the try that got you back into the game, inverted commas.
But maybe it was too late. But that all came after the most controversial moment, because the club no try came before that. The club no try came at 18-10, and that would have been a kick under the sticks. Now I understand all of the things people are saying in terms of the attacking players got a responsibility to keep hold of the ball, but at the same time, isn't that always the case? Why is that only the case in a try and scoring situation where the greater responsibility falls on the ball carrier?
Well, I think it always does fall to the ball carrier. I've seen them given in the middle of a park.
But there's no scenario. There's no scenario between the 20s where that isn't a penalty at all, whatsoever. Tell me I'm wrong. There's no scenario that's not a penalty. This is why I've been nice to you. I kind of think it goes up. I think it comes back the way it goes up. But I think if you get but I think it does. What I'm saying,
I think it's ambiguous. I don't think it's as clear cut as that. I think the way that the two players are going, at the point at which the ball comes out, they're both backwards. They're both horizontal. The arm comes away. Now it's slow motion. It looks like a strip. At full speed, it looks like two guys have gone forward and Tony Club's lost the ball.
What I was going to finish off by saying is it is treated differently in goal. I'm not saying it's kind of like all of a sudden in football, if you can obstruct someone close to the touchline, it's not obstruction. But if you're standing in the way in the middle of the pitch, it's a free kick.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing. I'm saying there's the way the rules are run. So that's why he had to keep hold of the ball. It's frustrating when you're on the wrong end of it in a circumstance where you know that a different decision would be given in a different part of the pitch. But I do think that decision is the decision that would always get given
there's
in the in-goal area, even though it's clearly fucking ripped out. And if anyone wants to tell me that it wasn't, like the James Child comment from Luke, yes, he did pull the ball out, but no one's disputing that even. People are saying Tony Clubb, if he's going to try and score a try, has to keep hold of the ball.
So
it's the right call. Even though it's fucking infuriating, it's the right call.
Because the player hasn't attacked the ball by the definition of the rules. He's wrapped the arm up and then they've fallen away together.
No, he's pulled the ball out and it's actually a knock-on into his own player, but you're in goal, so it's not offside, so it should be a scrum to Wigan on the 10-metre line. But it's not given that way. Rather than a try maybe, I don't know. I just think there should have been some way of coming out of that situation where Wigan got
the point.
Even if it wasn't getting the try, if we got because it just felt so wrong, because it was a blatant ball steal. But I can't say that it wasn't the decision that would have always been made in that scenario.
Well, I was downstairs.
The scenario is you're over the line.
I'd gone to the loo as that was happening. And by the time I got down the stairs, the replay's playing on the screen, and I'm still with a couple of lads who've watched it. And I basically had this same conversation with them. I said, it's going to come back the way it goes up because it's rugby league and because that's what will happen. And they go, no, it's a penalty. It is a penalty. Well, I was calling for a penalty try. It
wasn't a penalty try because there was no certainty that Tony Clubb would have retained possession if he hadn't have pulled it out.
There you go.
If he'd have just left his arm in there, but he clearly reefed it. There's no. What James Charles said is bollocks, because there's no way you can say he didn't have a pulling motion towards the ball. However, I still don't think it's a penalty try, and
So here's my
what I would like is James Child to say, if that was anywhere else, I couldn't say that was ripped out, but in that situation, if James Child has said the player trying to score has to keep hold of possession there, otherwise it's a knock-on, rather than this bullshit he made up about it wasn't a pull-in motion, right, then fair enough. I got more annoyed when I watched it back on TV.
But the thing is, everybody operates under pressure in these high-pressure scenarios, and that is James Child's only real hard work of the day, and he has to get it right. And by definitions, not what came out of his mouth, but in execution, he got it right.
Then came the Wigan try. Off two,
which to be honest with you,
terrible setup plays. By
I thought it was you lot winning at this point. I thought this will be it.
Terrible setup on two plays by Lulu Williams. They got themselves all over the show, running down blind alleys. Yeah. But it ended up with Lulu getting the ball first receiver for after George Williams had played the ball. O'Loughlin threw an amazing pass out, didn't he? And then it ended up with Farrell, who showed why he's the best second rower in the comp. Put Burgess through, just as he did for the no try at the end, actually. Liam Farrell made a fine pass. It was the pass to him that was forward. So that was good, and like you say, we had hope. But Thomas Luluai's kicking in that second half. There was the kick on the fourth tackle for Liam Marshall, which if he'd have put it in right, at the very least it should have been a goal line dropout. Marshall had no chance of getting the ball. He kicked it way too hard, way too acute an angle. Terrible kick. And then there was the one where he put it in the air rather than on the ground on the last tackle into the in-goal area for Talanoa to easy catch it. I mean,
it was a
Thomas Luluai's won a Lance Todd Trophy. Not a Lance Todd Trophy, Harry Sunderland. He's won big finals. He's a better player than that.
Yeah, he is a better player than he is to do with his kicking.
It's so frustrating to see things come down to that when we were imposing ourselves. And then,
and it just diffuses any momentum we've built, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then don't get me wrong, the forward pass was obviously a forward pass. I saw it live and called it. Then I was more annoyed by George Williams getting smacked around the head by Jamie Shaw's tackle to stop him in the corner where 3 or 4 of them came in and putting a great tackle on George Williams, apart from the fact that Jamie Shaw took him round the head. And again, there was no penalty, but at that time it was a minute to go or 2 minutes to go, crunch time. You're not going to get those sort of calls, are you? So by that point it was a build-up of feeling so many 50-50s hadn't gone our way. The only one that arguably did was the foot on the line one. Now I could watch it 100 more times and not be sure if his foot was on the line or just right in front of the line, but either way, maybe we got away with something there to an extent. It slightly addresses the balance for most of the 50-50s going against us, but we weren't good enough.
No.
And I've said, I don't know how many times I've said on this show that the 50-50s or the 55-45s, let's say, tend to swing all the way back to the team that's playing better, that's winning collisions more, that's doing the right things more often.
Yeah.
And Hull were doing the right things more often in this game, so because they were playing better, they were getting those decisions. The marginal calls, the ones that could go either way, probably just went their way most of the time because they were playing better, and then the ones that were blatant went the way they should have gone, like the forward pass. So it was so frustrating as a Wigan fan. But Hull were the better side. I thought Watts should have been in the conversation of pushing Sneed close, because Sneed's kicking was the absolute difference, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's why he totally deserved the award. But if you took his kicking out of the equation, Watts was the best player on the pitch for me. I think if you look across the field, I don't agree with Gary Schofield that Shaw was light years ahead of Tompkins in this game. I'd actually say it was a draw, if anything.
I didn't see Shaw do enough.
No.
At all.
The back line, obviously the wingers were way better. They made a lot less ground than the Wigan wingers, a lot less breaks, but what they did flawlessly, whereas the Wigan wingers weren't able to do things flawlessly, let's be clear. The centres, Wigan probably edged that because Gildart was the best centre on the pitch and Griffin was the worst centre on the pitch, so the half-backs clearly, far and away, was won by Hull FC. You look at the front row, again, far and away won by Hull FC. You look at the back row, Wigan probably were better because Bateman was very good in the first half, Farrell was very good in the second half. I'm not sure Minicello or Manu or Washbrook
or Ellis
did much. Then you look at loose forward, I'd say Ellis edged it over O'Loughlin over the course of the whole game. And then the bench, Sutton was okay off the bench for Wigan as a forward. Tautai did reasonably well. The forwards that came off the bench were better than the ones that started the game, that's for sure. But Chris Green was really good. Bowden was good when he played. He didn't play that many minutes, but they were better. They were just better.
There you go. Okay. Do the stats bear that out?
Not really, not massively. Okay. Wigan made 152 more metres at 1 metre per carry, better average gain, and had an extra clean break 6-5, as well as a couple more tackle busts and a few more successful offloads. However, Wigan also made 3 more errors to give a poorer overall set completion, fewer carries, and fewer play of the balls. Now we get to the stats that drove the result, though. Hull had far more kicks in the game. They forced 2 goal line dropouts to none forced by Wigan, and in some way or another retained the ball from 12 of their kicks.
That's a lot of possession retained in the sets, isn't it?
So it was those were the stats that controlled. When it's 3 tries each, it's that execution that Wigan messed up on, and it's that keeping possession that Hull did better at.
There you go.
So,
okay, individually, who stood out for us?
Fatuli Talanoa try 124 metres, Scott Taylor with 136 metres, Liam Watts with 120 metres, Danny Houghton with 50 tackles, Mahe Fanua with 2 tries. For Wigan, Liam Marshall 191 metres, which shows just how much they were kicked at, really. Anthony Gellin a try assist in 184 metres, Oliver Gildart a try in 143 metres, Joe Burgess a try 136 metres, 4 clean breaks, but a fucking brain fart that we didn't get to because other people covered it off. That kick he put in on the second tackle when we broke through them, but he didn't have... Hull had actually defended it really well because 2 or 3 players had dropped back. So managed to, rather than try and address the problem in its immediacy, they tried to surround him, sort of thing. That anything he did try and do had to be miraculous to come off, and he didn't do something miraculous. He did something moronic. That was just after, weren't it? That was when we were breaking them every time down that side, but not quite good enough. Liam Farrell a try assist 105 metres.
There you go. Okay. Read the crowd then, because I thought there was a good atmosphere. It was good fun up in the cheap seats where I was.
I couldn't hear a lot of crowd from both sides. Like, Hull fans were the louder of the 2 sets of fans because there was more of them, and I could hear singing from both ends sort of throughout. But it was never. It never felt like it was
a tense affair, though, because it was such a close game. It was tense. So I think people kind of, it didn't feel like there was a bad atmosphere, and there was a good atmosphere where I could hear things.
Before we talk about that, you were asking me a lot about what I thought of the bits in the game. What did you actually think of the game? Did you enjoy it?
I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Look, this is why I want to ask you, you need to take the lead on this, because you have a dog in the fight, and you have a keener eye sometimes than I do.
Not when it's come to this, though. I'm half blind.
Yeah.
I'm that bound up about losing.
Look, I think... Hull deserved to win. Absolutely. I think Mark Sneyd was deserved man of the match as well. Closely pushed by Liam Watts, so I don't disagree with you there. It was a good game. It wasn't high on slick ball through hands, set plays and loads of classy stuff, but it was attritional and it was enjoyable and it was a meaty game of rugby league. So I very, very rarely do I come away from a game of rugby league and not have enjoyed it or have not found something to take out of it, depending on how regardless of which way the game has gone. I felt sorry for Wigan fans because really there was apart from probably a 7 or 8 minute period by the end of the game where I thought, oh, shit, they are going to fucking do something here. Prior to that, it never really felt like Hull were in any peril, despite how close the scoreline was, because you were fluffing your lines, and Hull weren't doing a tremendous amount on the other side of things. When they're ball in hand, they took their chances. I mean,
they made a lot of mistakes.
You all scored the same amount of tries. It came down to goal kicking. So that tells you everything you need to know. It was attritional and it was hard fought, but I never felt like Hull were. Once Talanoa got over, once Hull went back down your end and scored that quickly and tied it up and got that try down, at that point I thought, right, I think Hull are at it here. Actually, I think they've got off to a slow start. It's not just Wigan are firing at them; they've got off to a slow start and they'll be at it. And they went on to prove me right. I think they're going to miss Mal. I think and look, I know Hull fans have been slating Mahe Fanua for the last few weeks, but I do think they're going to miss him next season. I think he's hard to replace form is temporary, class is permanent. I think he is a very classy player. And they did more stuff right. They executed a game plan perfectly well. You could see where they were kicking, except when Sucker punched you. So